This is Alexis Percival with the Vinquisition. I'm back here today to talk about orange wine. This will be part one in a series. I know y'all can't get enough about orange wine. And the reason I'm going to start as a primer is because some people might say, what the hell is orange wine? And some of you might say, I have never heard of this. I don't even know what this thing is. So we're going to start at a very basic level. First of all, orange wine is not made with oranges. And I know maybe that sounds silly, but certainly we have blueberry wine and other things like that. So in the case of orange wine, it is called that because of the color in the glass, not because of what it's made from. Okay, so that's our basic information. What it is made out of is white grapes. So you can make orange wine from any white grape, or a blend of white grapes if you wish, but you have to start with a white grape. The difference is in the production. What happens with orange wine making is that you will ferment the juice with the skins of the grapes. Now, how is that different from white wine? Well, in white wine, generally, you press the grapes, you take that juice away from the skins, and that's what you ferment. So you end up with this very pale, usually clear, yellow to gold colored liquid. With orange wine, because you're fermenting it with the skins, you're pulling that pigment into the wine. Now, how orange is orange? There are a few things that are going to impact the orangeness of the wine. And I'm going to talk about this in later videos in more detail, but generally speaking, you have a few factors. First of all, the grape that you start with, or the grapes varietals if it's a blend. Different grapes have different thickness and different levels of pigmentation. So yes, even amongst white grapes, they don't all look like our grocery store green grapes. They can be all the way to a blush color level. So if you give them an extended amount of skin contact, that color is going to bleed into the wine. And I also just mentioned its length of time. So it's the grapes that you start with, and also the length of time that you're going to macerate and for fermentation. This could go from, a few hours to 6 months or more. So that is going to have a big impact on how deeply pigmented the color of the wine is when the final product happens. The other thing that can affect it would be oxygen. Think of how your avocado or your apple hits oxygen after we bite into it and it starts to brown. The same thing will happen to grape juice or wine. It will start to brown. And so it depends if we use a fermentation vessel or an aging vessel that is porous, like used oak or concrete. Those things have tiny cavities that are going to give oxygen contact to the wine. Or if it's an open fermenter or a qvevri, like in Georgia, the large amphora vessels, these things can also contribute some color to the wine. Another factor is that oftentimes orange wine are made by quote-unquote natural winemakers who will choose not to filter their wines. Now, unfiltered wines are going to have a more dense opacity because there's more things floating in the wine, right? And they're going to we're going to have a more deeply colored looking wine because you're not filtering out those particulates that are giving color to the wine. And a final point, just to kick off our series on orange wine, is how is that different than rosé? Well, rosé you can think of as orange wine's opposite. Orange wine is always white grapes that are fermented and in skin contact for a long period of time. Rosé is red grapes that only have a tiny bit of skin contact. So they're just making the wine a little bit pink, or a lot, depending on the scale. As we'll get into more, this is all a spectrum. And it's very exciting that we're seeing more and more wines that don't fit into these rigid categorical boxes. But that's our orange wine part one. I hope you enjoyed it. Please feel free to ask me more questions in the comments. I love to hear from you. And I will talk to you and see you next time on The Vinquisition. Thanks for watching.